For the Australian Turf Club, this is the Everest podcast as we count down to October 16. And it's a real treat today to have Sky Racing, amongst many other things, Channel 7, the expert of the experts, Lizzie Jelfs. How are you?
I'm very well, Tim. Yeah, great to be joining you. It comes around quickly, this winter period, and then all of a sudden the spring is upon us and the good horses start coming in or start racing, and it gets really exciting, and it's full steam ahead, as you said, till October.
That's one of the things, isn't it? Lots of the good horses are now starting to trial.
Yeah, there's a lot of them starting to trial. They don't, through the winter, there's probably a period in about July that you can have some time off. But sort of towards the end of July, that's when a few of them start coming in, and they prep up their work and obviously start trialling. A lot of them already have trialed. Of course, we've got the Winx Stakes coming up as well, so that's very exciting, the first Group 1 of the season. But yeah, there's every set of trials that you look at now, from now all the way up until probably September, October, are really exciting horses.
Let's go back before we look forward, because you've always had a special spot in your heart for Classic Legend. He's a beautiful looking horse, and the way he powered home last year, there was an air of fairy tale to it, wasn't there?
Yeah, look, he's always been, I always describe him as a little bit of a big teddy bear. He's not your sort of classical sprinter where he's really excited and full of himself all the time. He's quite relaxed, and he's such a strong physical specimen. He's got a really lovely, strong hindquarter. He's very kind in the eye. Often he used to stop when he was walking around the mountain yard and I give him a pat. So he's really quite an easygoing character. But yeah, I think everyone loves a grey, and the fact that he's trained by Les Bridge, it's also, really exciting, because Les is such a master of all horses, and he's had such an established career throughout racing. So it's great that Les has got this wonderful galloper back, and hopefully there's another fairy tale on the horizon.
Yeah, well, South Sydney aren't playing too badly either. We know the two great loves of Les Bridge, rugby league and the mighty Rabbitohs, and of course his horse racing. Do you look? Bon Ho is obviously on the phone to Les all the time, and Les has been bullish in Les's kind of way about the horse in the past, and he's come out recently and said, "Look, I can see no reason why he can't go back to back."
Yep, and I can't either. If he brings back his form, which he had previously over the Everest Carnival last season, and if Les can get him back to that point, then he's going to be the horse to beat for sure. But it's just a case of whether he can get him back to that form. Obviously, he's had a few setbacks. He's had the trip over to Hong Kong as well. He was trained over there. So he has got a lot to overcome. But the reports are from Les is that he's been pleasing him each and every step of the way. But the reality is you don't actually know until they get the trials underneath them, and then of course when you get them to race day. So it's all going to be part of the news story, I suppose, what the Classic Legend and Les Bridge story leading into this year's Everest.
Yeah, because there's plenty of other components to the Everest of 2021. G-Tra back for Inglis. This certainly has got a bit of fairy tale. The South Australians, the Battlers, look, not out of the picture.
No, and he's on a bit of a comeback trail as well. Obviously, he's had a couple of runs since he had his surgery, since the Everest, but he's on that comeback trail of getting back to his absolute optimum for the spring. And sometimes these horses, they have a sense of timing. I think a lot of horses enjoy racing in the spring, and some enjoy racing in the autumn as well. So he's on a little bit of a comeback trail, but he's got a great set of owners. They've linked up with Inglis again, which has been highly successful. But the combination of Gordon Richards, the whole crew of owners, there's a massive, array of owners that are in behind this horse. And then Inglis being partner up with them once again, and have had some fantastic their ad campaigns and their encouragement to get people involved in the Everest has been really exciting. So yeah, they sort of set the bar at Inglis, and I'll be looking to see who's also going to be able to, bring their social media campaign up with them.
Yeah, they've done everything. They've written songs and all sorts of stuff, and they've had the whole the mobile, the horse trailer made out with all the G-Tra signage. So they've done a good job right across the board. Now let's have a look at a few of the other horses that we know are already in. Masked Crusader with the Hawks, Team Hawks. And John Hawkes, he's a man of few words, but he really likes him, and lightly raced, and Max Whitby and Neil Werrett have picked him up.
He's a really interesting horse because he's got the ability to improve this preparation. I think just from a yard person's point of view, a yard watcher, and even a form analyst, you know that there's still some peak performances in him. He's got an amazing turn of foot at the end of his races. He is a horse that I think came a long way from previous preparations, and I still think that there's more improvement in him. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he presents. The only negative about him, and it's a big negative, is that he has been a bit iffy at the start. He misses the start, and over that 1200 meters, you really don't want to be getting back as far as he gets back. So maybe this time around he might not step away slowly. He can, step with them, because I think he's a horse that has got more scope to improve than a few of these other horses that have been selected so far.
Yeah, there's no questioning whether Nature Strip is quick enough, but he also has, he can be temperamental. He can have some problems at the start.
He can, but it looks like Chris has really worked him out in more ways than one. I think last preparation showed in the autumn that he's really figured him out. He doesn't look as though he needs to have, he looks as though he needs to have a lot of fitness on his side, because he puts so much into his races. He just tries so hard. And I think having those 2 trials underneath his belt last prep, this short time between spring and autumn, really enabled him to race at his absolute peak all the way through the autumn season. So I think Chris has worked him out. He has got a few chinks in his armor, and he's another one. He's so quiet and subdued. You would never expect him to behave the way he did in the spring last year, but I just don't think it was his prep. He just had a bit of an off one. But he showed what he's made of last autumn, and if Chris gets him back, it just makes another element to the race that's so exciting, because we know exactly what he can do. And he's created a bit of a cult following as well, hasn't he?
He certainly has, as has Rothfire.
Yes. Yeah, well, he's another one. There's a few, it's not cut and dry. This is what keeps us coming back week after week. It's just whether he can come back to his best as well. Obviously, we saw what he could do early on last season, and then he had that really bad mishap in the Golden Rose, and now he's on the comeback trail, and he's got the figures to say last preparation that he can put up a peak performance that is worthy of getting him into an Everest and also winning an Everest as well. So he's another one. We've just got to see what happens as he comes back on that trail, the trials, and he's had a trial, but the trials leading into his first up run will be interesting.
Anthony Cummings, again, talking about Libertini, and look, she's such a talented horse. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? And, there's ways and means about him getting her into the race. I think he would really like to run first up into it, because she's so dynamic first up. But it's a case of who's going to take a punt on her first up, who's going to put her in the slot. But it will be interesting to see how it will sort of all play out. But she's obviously a very, very good mare, especially first up into the campaign.
It is a game of chess, isn't it, Lizzie? Because we've seen some go early and we've seen some hold their chess or poker, whichever way we want to look at it. James Harron keeps his cards close to his chest.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the TAB's picked up Lost and Running as well. So that's another horse that's on the, they've had to take a bit of a punt on early, because he showed great form at the end of last preparation. But is it, you have to question, is it as good as some of the Everest horses that have been picked in front of him? But he's the up and coming horse. He's the horse that could potentially, be better than all of them. You just don't know. You just have to wait and see how it all pans out. But it is like a game of chess, I think, or a game of poker. I think everyone doesn't let anything out. They know which horses they want to target. And I think this season there's been 3 or 4 horses that they've wanted, and people have gone out and got them. And then now after that, there's sort of a whole mixed bag of them where they just want to see how they've come back. And that's when they start selecting which horse goes into which slot.
You've been around this game for quite a few years now. It is magical, isn't it? In so many ways, the Everest. It's got such a storytelling ability as a horse race. And I spoke to Wayne Hawkes for this podcast, who's obviously based in Melbourne, and he put his hand up because, look, this is the race that everyone talks about because it's got all these permutations to it.
Yeah, I think the key with this race has been the fact that you can create a story, like you just mentioned. it doesn't just start from, oh, this is the field. There's all this, conjecture and talk and conversations starting from when the last Everest finished to when this one's, about to be run. There's always talks about who's going to take what horse and what horse is worthy of, and who's, going well and who's not going well, and who's the horse that's going to put up a peak performance on that occasion. So that is what makes it so interesting, is the excitement that has been created and everyone's opinions that lead into the race. And it's over so quickly, but it's every single time I've seen it being run, it's been very, very exciting. And I'll never forget the first time it was run at Randwick. It blew my mind that in such a short time, a race was so captivating, and it's continued to be so.
Finally, Lizzie, can we get the crystal ball out, the Lizzie Jelfs crystal ball, and get a prediction on who's going to win this?
Oh, well, I suppose if you're going on horses that you hope return to form, I'd have to say the Grey is going to be hard to beat. Classic Legend. If he returns back to what he was last preparation, or I should say the preparation he won the Everest, I think he's going to be hard to beat in a race like this. But if I was looking for something that was a little bit of a roughie and that could run really, really well, I think Eduardo, who still hasn't been picked up, I still think that he would be a horse that would run really well. I think he can run top three. And he's a bit of a fighting tiger, and I like the battler types, and so I'd pop him into my my value. But I think Classic Legend would be at this stage the one to beat.
Any smart punter will follow you. I always follow you. I'm going to write Eduardo down now, Lizzie. You do an amazing job, and we really appreciate you giving us up some time to join the Australian Turf Club Everest podcast. Lizzie Jelfs, thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Great to join you.